When I was growing up, the way in which I was able to learn about people was to listen to them tell stories. I can imagine just sitting there with my grandpa Sam, my hero, and him telling me about how his family immigrated over here from Russia and all the different ways in which that they had to overcome things to get where they were at. Those conversations that we once had with our grandparents, they're locked in our head, which is great. What we're being able to provide with our format is being able to provide those stories that are now in a library, that are now actually somewhere that people can go back and they can listen to. People are not just going outside of their houses and getting to know their neighbors as much as they once did. You're not just supporting some random stranger. You're supporting somebody that is your neighbor. You're supporting somebody that is your friend.
Welcome to the Ill Noise Business Playbook. We sit down with people building real impact in their communities and unpack the vision behind their work. If you care about real stories and real connection, you're in the right place. Let's make some noise.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing, all the wonderful stuff that we're doing with the Ill Noise Business Playbook, or as I will continue to refer to it as TINBP. I'm going to get a quick background on myself. I haven't always been a YouTube host of this YouTube channel. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology and I have a master's degree in business. When I first graduated from college, I went to work in the not-for-profit industry. I then decided to kind of move over to the radio broadcasting industry, which I have a background in prior to getting into college. I've been on a radio show for years and years and years. I was actually a producer of a big sports show in Aurora, Illinois, an AM radio station, had a lot of fun there. And then I decided to enter the corporate world. I worked in the for educational field. Basically in sales, like you mentioned sales. And for the last 15 years or so, I was directing sales teams and really just trying to speak to small businesses and primarily with my team in order to talk to them about the educational options that they could provide their employees. Eventually, I kind of got to a fork in the road. I entered the corporate world with 4 head, and then all of a sudden my hairline kept going up. And once it hit the 6 head stage, I decided I needed to do something a little bit different. Well, I actually, because I was dealing with the corporate pressures and all of the stress and all the fun stuff I was dealing with, I was trying to think of what in the world can I do that is like the least stressful thing possible. And I decided to become an Uber driver. And it was just going from one to the next. It was the greatest thing in the world for a little while there, but I wasn't really feeling the fulfillment that I was doing when I was working in the industries, and really kind of having that business sense and that business responsibilities and stuff. So Neha, my wife, who's the producer of our YouTube channel, her and I decided to just start doing a podcast together. It was just sort of a fun little rinky-dink thing and I decided to name it The Ill Noise, and we talked sports, entertainment. It was just an opportunity for my wife and I to spend time together. She was doing bookkeeping. I was doing Uber drivers. We kind of came together once a week and just had a little fun times with their show. As we were kind of doing that, realizing that A, I didn't want to drive a car all the time, and B, Neha wasn't as fulfilled as she wanted to be in the bookkeeping industry. We were trying to think of different things that we can do. This will come later on in the presentation here, but Greg Urban, thank you, Greg, had suggested to Neha that maybe we start looking into talking to businesses and giving them that platform that we were giving ourselves. So we sort of jumped into it initially. I like to call our preseason when we first started this out. We actually had people come to our house and sit in a love seat right next to me and interview them for like 15 minutes. And we did a few episodes that way. And we realized really quickly, I was thinking psychologically speaking, these people didn't even know who the heck I was. They were sitting next to me and somehow I was trying to like create comfort with them when they were just right there next to me, right? So we quickly realized that wasn't the way, but we still kind of tried to maintain the flow of what we were doing. So we still had these prepackaged questions that we were providing in what we're calling our preseason. Then last season, when we started our season 1, which Greg was our first person I interviewed, we did the same package route where I was basically sending questions out to the folks. Hey, here's what we're going to cover so they can kind of be prepared. It'll be around 15 minutes or so. Try to make it like a really easy flow for us to do. As we continue to progress through our official season 1, it was going well, but we were getting hundreds of views and we were realizing, okay, this is not getting us really where we want to go. We've got to figure something else out. Towards the end of the season, we started working with a part-time editor for us that was kind of able to provide some other opportunities. And we had a interview that came out that had over 1,400 views. And so we thought, okay, we might actually have something. So as we continue to sit back and think about what we want to do for this new season that we're in right now, is we were trying to figure out different ways that we can really get to the heart of what people are about and really get them in that safe space to be able to share their stories so that we can share with our whole audience. So we decided to go from 15 minutes to about 30 minutes or so. So we doubled the time that we're on the interviews. And we no longer sent them prepackaged questions. So we just basically said, hey, listen, you're going to come on here. We're going to talk briefly. We're going to kind of get to know each other if we need to for whatever way. But basically, we're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your path, and we're going to talk about your business. That has, to say it's worked out well for us, would be an understatement. Video that we put out so far has gotten thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And we're hoping to keep that on time. We want to make sure that we can do three particular things important. We want to make sure that we are telling stories. We want to make sure that we are educating. And we want to make sure that we're building upon the community. And if you think about where we're at right now in 2026, it is a different world. I'm in my 50s, and I can recall when I was growing up, it's a very antiquated way of thinking about things. But when I was growing up, the way in which I was able to learn about people was to listen to them tell stories. I can imagine just sitting there with my grandpa Sam, my hero, and him telling me about how his family immigrated over here from Russia and all the different ways in which that they had to overcome things to get where they were at. And then I was thinking about how important that storytelling actually is. With those conversations that we once had with our grandparents, they're locked in our head, which is great. What we're being able to provide with our format is being able to provide those stories that are now in a library, that are now actually somewhere that people can go back and they can listen to, and they can get feedback from those. The storytelling thing it's really something that I think is still needed, and why it's actually something that's very important for right now. But in order to get somebody to actually share, you've got to create an environment for them to want to be able to do so. So I talk very much so about making sure that people feel comfortable, people feel a safe space, letting them know, we're going to talk about you, but let's just kind of pretend that we're sitting there on a park bench. Or I'll use another example as well, usually when I talk to them. But we're sitting at a restaurant having a soda pop, and we're just talking about their business. So want to make sure they feel comfortable. As soon as they feel comfortable, they're able to kind of share their path. And then people are able to watch it, people are able to get takeaways from what they're doing. It's been really enlightening. There's so many beautiful people out there, including Vicky, who I just met. Been in this industry for so long, right? But there's so many people that the reason they get to where they're at is usually because of something that came to them, and they were unhappy doing what they're doing. So they decided, I have to do something different. We've got a wonderful young lady that we interviewed this year, and she's a quilter. And you would think right away, I'm sure some people here at the facility probably would enjoy quilts. But she had been doing quilts kind of on the side as she was working in the corporate world. And she's very close to her stepbrother. They were very tight. And her stepbrother was diagnosed with cancer. So she then kind of put two and two together and was like, well, hey, hold on a second. If it doesn't end up okay, I want to still have something tangible I can remember this individual from. So she actually took an article of his clothing, built up a quilt that she still has today. Now, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But what's wonderful about what she did is her and her family now have something tangible that they can remember this person for. When you really get down and you drive why people are doing what they're doing, it's really kind of a beautiful thing. I myself left because I was unhappy in the industry I was in. I could tell from talking to a gentleman here that he was also doing something back in the day, and now he's doing something different. We all kind of come to a point. And I think what's really been great about what we do and why it's so transferable to so many other businesses to listen, businesses, not-for-profits, change agents, is everybody kind of comes to a fork in the road at some point, and you have to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to remain in your current situation, maybe not be as happy as you want to be, or are you going to change things? And what's been great with our YouTube channel is that we continue to provide them those opportunities to be able to share how they got to where they got and why it continues to drive them to this day. Those stories that we're giving are building connections within each other because we're concentrating most of our time and space, most of our time and space on the Algonquin Lake and Hills area, because my wife and I are in the chamber, and of course, Neha is also on the board. When you get to know the folks that are running these businesses, you realize they're your neighbors. And when you buy something or you purchase something or you go visit them, you're seeing that they're very close to who you are. And when you kind of get that semblance that, boy, this person, regardless of however they might feel about X, Y, and Z, they're just a person that's sitting there trying to do everything in their power to make a difference in the world and do something they're passionate. When you match that passion with the practice of what they're doing, you can get something rather powerful. And that's what folks are doing. Now, the YouTube channel has really done a great job. And again, it's so congruent for all businesses to be successful there, but it's all about education. And we try to provide the platform that are the people that I'm interviewing can tell their stories and educate they're focused on what they're doing. And what you really can see is that in business in general and not-for-profit sector, no matter what, when you kind of learn why people are doing what they're doing and see why they're motivated to do what they do, it helps you actually get closest to them. It helps you feel more comfortable with them. But also the education is also transferable. So it's not just about them educating you, but if you really want to be successful, you need to educate yourself on who is walking in those doors. And the closer and the more that you feel to those folks and the more that you become understanding of what the customer is, the better off that you can form a platform for them to be successful and for them to want to come. Education removes fear. So when you know what you're getting into, you're more likely to want to continue to do this. Anybody have any questions so far? I feel like I just ran. No? Okay. Awesome. It's really key, whatever you're doing, anything though in this world, to understand why you do what you do, what's motivating you, and to understand who you're helping and what's motivating them. Once you can kind of match up those motivations, it's pretty good. And also there's so many transferable skills from what I had been doing in the past that I can see that the successful businesses are doing now. When folks walk into your business per se, or folks walk into the chamber, never ask them, what do you do? Don't do it. Instead, ask them, how you doing? What's going on? You've got to establish that connection. You've got to establish that trust first. And then you can get to the educational component of things. And then you can actually bridge that relationship. And then you can make things better. I always talk to my team to be aces out there, to be adaptive, to be collaborative, and to be engaging. And I see that those, when I walk in to a young lady that's got a candle shop, or I walk into somebody that's cleaning, or somebody that's a plumber and whatnot, those people that treat you like they know you, and they have relationships established with you and want to get to know you, those are the people that you're going to trust. Those are the people that you're going to be. Then you can get to the heart of what the educational component of things actually is. Okay. What we're really trying to continue to achieve is building upon the community. It's something that's extremely important to both of us. And my wife, who's the producer and who's the heart of the channel. I guess the dog's the soul, and I'm somewhere around there. But she's on the board. We're very invested in the Algonquin Lake and the Hills area, but we're very invested in Illinois in general. Both of us are from Illinois. My wife was born in Chicago. She'll love to tell you that. She did spend her whole life in Central Illinois, but she's from Chicago. And I grew up right around the Chicagoland area. So this is where I'm from, and this is where I'm rooted. So I want to see those people that I get to know win. So with our YouTube channel, with the platform that we're providing, we're giving them the opportunity to win. But it's about being a community. And with TINBP, what we've been finding is that the more people kind of embrace what we're doing, there's two things that are happening. So in order to kind of come on the show, people ask me all the time, what can I do to come on your YouTube channel? I'm seeing you're getting thousands of views and you're doing these wonderful things. You're putting out these great stories. I want to get on the show. How much does it cost? Very simply, nothing. Doesn't cost anything. What it does cost is time. And that time that we need for folks to, what we have termed it, igniting the algorithm. Okay. When we put something on our social media platforms, we just ask people to like and love and comment and share whenever they can. By doing so, we can have people get more eyes on what we do, but what we do is very reciprocal. We ask people to do it for us, and we'll go ahead and do that for them as well. With the community that we build, we also are acting as twofold. We are a marketing and promotional organization as well. When folks have different things going on that we're aware of, we're going to promote it across all of our platforms. So we're going to get the word out as far as what people are doing. And when we have things going, we want folks to be a part of it as much as possible. Last year we had a guest that was our hero. That guest was the first one to break through the over 1,000 view threshold, and we thought that's a big deal. Now it's become the norm for us. But she was on the show. She's got a little spot in East MD. We had our first what will be a quarterly, what I've teamed a get together because I like to play along with words. But we had a lot. 15, 20 people or so show up and just kind of show out. And it's a great opportunity. It's a great networking event, but it was a great opportunity because when you go to networking events, I know a lot of times people are a little bit fearful of one thing. I'm not going to know anybody. I mean, I myself am an extrovert, but there's a lot of introverts out there. So a lot of times people go to those things are like, I don't know what I'm talking to. I don't know who I'm going to meet, blah, blah, blah. The great thing about what we were doing for our first quarterly get together is when people were coming there, they felt like they kind of knew each other because they've seen each other. And they've seen me, and I was the pulse, but as my wife was as well, by doing all the pre-interviews, they already knew each other. They felt comfortable with each other. So it wasn't just hey, here's here's who I am. But more so it was hey, how is everything going with such and such? How are things going with the solar community right now for you? How are things going with the dog? Like people already knew the story. So that helped bridge the gaps and that helped bring even stronger sense of relationships, even stronger sense of communities with them. We're going to continue to do so. And we're at a point where we have different sponsorship packages that we can help folks out. We can certainly, we always share those with folks along the way and stuff. But ultimately what we're really trying to do is we're really just trying to bring folks together. We're trying to make sure that we're telling their story, because everybody, if you really get to a point and you talk to somebody, what someone is going to ultimately want to share is themselves. And that's something I learned over the years where I'd always ask whenever I come back to a location that I was at before, I would write little notes, like Greg's got a wife and he's got 2 kids, he's got a dog. And then I would kind of train myself to remember that. So then when I would see Greg at a company function or something, I would say, hey, how's the dog doing? How's the kids going? How's the wife going and stuff like that. And we're really trying to make it so people feel comfortable, so people feel like they're together. So we want to make sure that we're telling those stories with impact. We're telling those stories with authenticity, that I continue to try to work on creating that safe space and that comfortability so that when they come on the show, that they feel like they already sort of know me a little bit, so they feel more comfortable to kind of share things with me. I want to make sure that I'm educating folks. When you educate folks, not only about what you do, but when you learn to educate yourself on the customer base that's coming in, you're ultimately going to be that much more successful by doing so. And the biggest thing is that the community that we continue to establish with the TINBP community, it's all about establishing trust. It's all about understanding this is something that you can be a part of. And we've become now a resource. So if somebody wants to know where to get their dog trained, I can tell you right away. Celeste is wonderful, and I'll point in your direction. But I think it's really all these things that we're doing within our channel are so transferable on anybody running a business. Anybody running a business, anybody running something that they want to be successful, they've got to remember that they can tell their story without hesitation. They've got to make sure that they can educate, and they got to make sure that they can make people feel like they're together in their community. Any questions along the way?
Will you call it
TINBP, the Ill Noise Business Playbook, TINBP.
Okay.
Yes. It's funny too, because we put actually though, it's wonderful that this young lady is going to come here because, hey Kat,
Hi.
we got a spot right here for you.
Oh, right
in front. And actually, I'm glad you came here, Kat. So I'll give you a copy of what I talked about. But Kat was just like Greg. Kat was on our last season on the Ill Noise Business Playbooks. Kat, if you can you share a little bit about what it was like to be on the show? Was it scary?
Oh, sure.
How you felt about it?
Oh, no problem. So I would say good morning, but it's not morning. One of those days, but good afternoon, Wayne, Canada. And I was representing a company I used to be working for. Joe and Neha are very just genuine people that don't look at you as a representation of a company or an entity or title above your head. He speaks to you like a person and a human being first and foremost. So even if your nerves are acting up, he has a way to just speak to you, and you forget that you're on camera. So it's a nice way to open up with a genuine, he wants to know about your story and why your company chose you to represent them. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I won't call on you, Greg, but I hope you had a decent time as well. But it's been really great. And with everything that we're building here, with everything, it's all about establishing connections. It's all about establishing trust, and it's all about really honing in on the growth in this section of things. And we feel very strongly that what we're doing is obviously extreme value add to the community. But we also feel it's extreme value add just for people in general. When you can hear the why behind. And again, I studied psychology. I worked in the non-for-profit field. I was listening constantly to kids and adolescents that were at bad environments kind of share their stories. But to put yourself in a situation where you just kind of listen, when you can support someone else within the community, you're not just supporting some random stranger, you're supporting somebody that is your neighbor. You're supporting somebody that is your friend. People have the ability, we're going to go get something to eat later, and we're going to not go to a big master corporation. We're going to instead want to go to a mom and pop shop as best as possible, because those folks are the heartbeat of our community. And what our format has provided that is giving a voice to those folks, a voice to the voiceless, like we once said, is to really kind of share it. When you see why that passion and practice, how they sort of mix and intermingle, when you can find something you're really passionate about and that you can do it, I can tell you that you're living life the right way. You really are. I just think it's wonderful, and we're going to continue building. We're continue growing. Always looking for new folks to be on the show. We're always looking for people that want to provide support, but ultimately, we always just want to do what's right. And Neha and myself, as everybody in this room does, we have our own story that we could tell, our own story that sort of got us to this point. But I can tell you with confidence, from working for someone else, it's pretty neat to work with the person that I care about the most in this world, and to do something that's valuable, and do something that's good, and do something that's helpful. Again, the next get together, everybody's invited, and we're going to throw it across all our social media platforms. Stina, thank you for showing up. That was awesome. Maybe you couldn't be there, but that's okay. But it's just been really great. We want to just continue to help people. Anybody have any additional questions? I don't want to just labor on.
It goes to the, one of the first things that I saw years ago, the Simon Sinek with the Start with the Why, really did hit home as far as approaching from not what you do, it's why you do it. And that's where the interview process can really hone down and humanize, like you said, humanize an individual, a company, a passion, and also find out there's so many companies and so many people that their business, yes, it creates jobs, it creates economic salaries for them, but the giving back that they do further into the community. I know one of our members, First Class Selling, they're one that when they find a nonprofit in the community that they can connect to, they're actively trying to donate, give to. So it all swirls. It's all about that human aspect of it.
Agreed. And I think, we have to use the YouTube format for what we're doing, the social media platforms. What I see as I continue to get older and older is that people are not just going outside of their houses and getting to know their neighbors as much as they once did. I can recall my folks, we lived on top of the street. We had a big yard. We had the biggest yard. So I was a popular kid. So we could play all the sports in the backyard, but we'd also had this big fire pit. And the neighbors, like my friends' parents, would come over to our house and would sit around the fire pit. And you could just, as kids, I would just love to listen to some stories until my father would shoo me away because they'd probably start to have adult stories and stuff. But we're kind of missing that. And as I said at the beginning of it, my grandfather was someone that played a huge part of who I am. He taught me empathy, he taught me compassion, he taught me about being my most authentic self, to not be afraid to share my voice, and to be somebody to have pride in the last name, because that was his last name as well. But those conversations that I had with him, I wish like crazy I would have recorded those, so I could look back at them. But one of the beauties of what we're doing right now is we are putting them out there in the zeitgeist for everybody to be able to recall things. So not only when people do an interview, they're very interested in seeing what it was that they talked about, but then they can get all these wonderful takeaways from all these other folks. Because ultimately, you have to be brave to want to step out and do something that you extremely love. And sometimes it's not going to show as much of the monetary benefits initially as you would like. But if you're acting from a positive place and you're doing what you think is the right thing, eventually it's going to come back to you and then some. But I think that's, it's really about the psychology of it.
And from the business side, that's the place that you need to, from a networking and going to events, that's where you need to be individually. You're there to find out who the people are in a row, not necessarily tell them who you are.
Yep.
We all can sense, you can always sense the person next to you. Here's my card. Here's my card.
Yeah.
Here's my card. Oh, wait.
No, definitely.
If you have no interest in me, why should I be interested in you?
Great.
And the video format plays into the unfortunate nature of nobody's reading anymore. People want to create more content, more video content. And the platforms exist and the distribution methods exist now.
Yep.
Where I'm in kind of that same era of it was a VHS tape and you mail it to somebody and you're like, oh, no. So that the modes and distribution methods now exist to be able to, capitalize on this.
when we've lost something, because the fact that so many young folks don't know what a mixtape is anymore sort of frustrates me to no avail. Because I used to love making little mixtapes for my friends. No, they don't. But another thing too that I do want to make sure just with the community is, as much as we're doing the TINBP, the Ill Noise Business Playbook community, and we're trying to build that up. It's been so beneficial, and I encourage folks that aren't even in Algonquin, Lake and Hills, but to join chambers, because I think it's a great opportunity. There's so many, again, if you want to say that you want to really care about your neighbor, then show up. If they have a ribbon cutting, you can out there and just say, hey, because what we all don't realize is how much blood and sweat and tears happened before they even got to that point where they can even cut that ribbon. Before Greg hands those big oversized scissors to somebody and chop them, it does so much work. So when you're involved with chambers and when you're solidified within the community, then you find out about ribbon cuttings, then you find out about happy hours, then you find out about networking groups, specific networking groups, women networking groups, and so on and so forth. Different things that you're privy to. And it's a great way to get out there and really kind of show. If you're somebody that's looking for another opportunity, get out there. You never know who you're going to meet. The basis of what we're doing is because we joined something because Neha was a bookkeeper. Neha was a bookkeeper. She talked to Greg, and Greg just kind of threw something in our ears. And then I started thinking, boy, oh boy, since I was supporting small businesses so much and heard all these stories. And the bottom line is one of the reasons why some small businesses are not as successful as they potentially could be is because they don't have the money to market or promote their businesses appropriately. So we really looked at that as well. Why don't we give them that fresh start? Why don't we give them that nudge that'll provide the platform for them to be able to tell their story and share what they're doing? So it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Greg, thank you so much. Any other questions anybody has? All right. Well, could shut that up. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
So what's the frequency of interviews at this time?
We're still doing, so we put them out Tuesdays at 4 p.m. every week on the cards that we're selling. On this card, on that side.